coming right there.
Good evening, Tactical Rifleman Nation. How you guys doing? Of course, you know I'm Steve Holland, and I am here at the Tactical Rifleman Studio for Military Monday, and we're going to have an awesome Monday. You know why? Because we're awesome, and you guys are awesome. You know how I like hanging out with you guys, and where's Carl? Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm sitting in the big chair tonight. Woo-hoo. I want to give a shout out to our sponsor for this week, and this month, and forever, Venture Surplus. Venture Surplus. They bring the military surplus world to your front door while you sit back on the couch eating pizza, watching The Mandalorian. This is the way. We have a special guest for you guys tonight, and I am so pumped about this. We are going to have Mr. Jeff Hoffman, who is the president, CEO, owner extraordinaire of Black Hills Ammunition out of South Dakota. And Jeff is going to come on, and he's going to tell you something about himself. And then we're going to talk about the company, the lines of ammunition that they produce, and especially the Mark 262 5.56 77 grain ammunition that we got started along with the Mark 12 SPR program. And you notice I didn't say Mark 12 Mod H, because it's Mark 12 all the variants except for what's the Mod 1, the night version. Oh gosh, did I say that? Oh, shout out to Reed Knight and Mr. Trey. I ain't hating. So, you guys jump in the chat room. Be prepared to give Mr. Jeff your attention. You're taking out the time to come see us, because I knew we were not going to get him live in Kentucky or Tennessee, and we were not going to South Dakota, and he wasn't leaving South Dakota to come to us. So Nick has hooked it up, figured out this whole video thing, so we're able to bring you special guests from around the nation and around the world. And Nick is here with me, and he's doing a great job. I mean, I wouldn't be able to do this without Nick. And shout out to Carl and Miss Dana. We hope they're having a great time at the Mountain
Readiness, I think.
Yeah, the Mountain Rodeo Readiness thingy they're doing. And without further ado, we're going to bring in Mr. Jeff Hoffman of Black Hills Ammunition.
Hey, Steve. How
Hey,
you doing?
good, Jeff. Good. Good to have you, brother.
Good to have you. Hey, everything you said is true except for the CEO part of it. My wife is the CEO of our business and our family. She's the one with all the money. Christy.
Got it. You said it to me many times in the text. If you want anything or need anything, don't talk to me, talk to Miss Christie.
That's correct.
And I told Nick the same thing. I said, hey, he said, everything ready, everything? I said, you got to talk to Miss Christie. So, Jeff, hoping I invited our good friend to watch, Mr. Buford Boone. I'm not going to even get into Buford because I'm talking to Jeff. But one of these days, we're going to have to get Buford online. He ran the FBI Ballistic Research Lab at Quantico, Virginia for about a gazillion years, back when Fred Flintstone was running around with his feet as a car engine. But today we're with Jeff, and Jeff, I want to welcome you, and feel free to introduce yourself to the Tactical Rifleman viewers.
Hi, I'm Jeff Hoffman, Black Hills Ammunition. My wife and I started the company started working for the original company, Black Hills Shooter Supply, in 1981. We bought in 1982. By 1988, we owned the whole deal, making ammunition, and it's been quite a ride. We started military business in '96, won the AMU contract, and from there earned a reputation. And within 3 years, we had all the March ammo. And then after that, we started on operational ammunition. That's about what we started with Mark 262 that Steve's talking about.
So you guys, Jeff, tell us about your law enforcement background.
I went to college as a criminal justice major. Got out of college and had to find a job, so ended up out here in Rapid City. Did that for 3 years. Started at the princely hourly wage of $4.67 an hour. Thought we were going to cut a wide swath. Found out that we were basically starving to death. And at one point, we had an opportunity to go into business, and Christy looked at me and said, "I think we ought to evaluate this because what we're doing ain't working." I couldn't really give up being a cop. Being a cop is not something you do, it's something you become. So I continued on in law enforcement as a reserve and part-time, and on the special response team as a sniper for the next 35 years after that while we were in business here. So did business and law enforcement.
Yeah, that's the part of your background that always amazed me. Even when we first met, back when we were working with Troy Lawton out at the Army Marksmanship Unit down at Fort Benning, and I want to say I met you with Troy at the SHOT Show the very first time we ever met, and
Probably.
we kind of built the relationship or friendship over the years. And I remember Troy telling me that you guys were doing the contract for their ammunition, and that's when, going to SOCOM, I had to convince SOCOM that a 77 grain 5.56 projectile had merit, and it actually didn't take me as long as I thought it would, because normally when you're trying to bring a new weapon system or new ammunition into the military, specifically the different services, the good thing that SOCOM is its own service, because normally, we've seen people come and go over the years, you and I both for decades, that had good ideas and great ideas when it came to firearms and ammunition, but it never pressed forward. So I was really surprised when I got with Troy, and we convinced SOCOM to fund the contract through Crane to allow us to use the Mark 262 77 grain. A lot of the viewers don't understand that when you do that in the military, you have to get all kinds of certification for your ammunition. And you've got a lot of people, business-wise or politically, that don't want you to succeed. You, as the manufacturer, and myself, as a warfighter representative, because they have a lot of coin in the game, and bringing you in as outside of the military ammunition little mafia was difficult. I had some great people to work with. I had Buford Boone from the FBI working with, Gus Taylor out at Crane who's working with Gus, of course Troy Lawton at the AMU, and of course my commanders believing in me enough to believe that the data that I was bringing to them was superior to what we were given by the military. And I have to throw Hayes Park's name in there also, because Hayes Parks, God bless him, those that you didn't know, Colonel Parks, he's a full-bird colonel in the Marine Corps, and he was the JAG for the Department of Defense, not the Army, not the Navy, for the Department of Defense. And he was the one that has to John Hancock off on any certification for ammunition, which was, you talk about law of land warfare, all the legalities, all this stuff back and forth. But the amazing thing was when they told me that you guys had gotten a contract, and I said, wait a minute, it's done? They said, yeah, it's done. I said, so everything is done, and we're going to start getting boxes of ammo into our ammunition supply point like we get from Lake City Army Ammunition point P, whatever the P stands for. I digress. So it was an amazing, amazing accomplishment for all of us that wanted to see this ammunition get into the fight. And it got into the fight, and it is still in the fight, and it has done well. And that's a great credit to Black Hills Ammunition for having the quality of the components that you brought to the fight, along with, of course, with Sierra, with the 77 grain Match King, and it's like a few other things that we have accomplished at Fifth Group that today still amazes me.
It was amazing when they came to us. We had we started, as I said, in '96 with AMU. Within 3 years, we had the Navy and the Marine Corps, Air Force buying from us. And then at that point, Crane called up at your urging, I assume, and said, "Hey, do you want to do operational ammo? We're starting a program with a weapon called the SPR. That was before it was type classified as the Mark 12. And they said, Jeff, this is basically a scope-sided, suppressed, accurized M16A1 custom-built at Crane. We need ammunition that's accurate and effective at 600 yards. Can you do that?" And I said, well, certainly, we're already doing the accuracy with 600-yard ammunition for the AMU, so I know we can do that. I said, I don't know anything about the effectiveness of a 5.56 600 yards. So they just listened to you play. I said, yes, play. So we started on the interesting thing there, Steve, is that's not how things are normally done. Normally there's a source of sought with a description of what they want in a competitive situation. In this case, they had kind of decided that what we had done with the AMU and with the other units had merit, and they wanted us to proceed with that, turn that into a combat round. So they said, "Do you want to play?" And I said, "Absolutely." And that we started off with what was the AMU load, and then turned that into a combat round, something that was durable and reliable in combat situation, and it's been an incredible success. The best compliment we've ever gotten was some years after that, our Navy liaison, Chuck Marsh, called up and said, "Jeff, you have to understand what you're doing here. What you're doing is saving lives. The difference between what these guys would have had to use and what you're giving them has resulted in saved lives." And I was kind of dumbstruck. I didn't know what to say. I thought, does it get any better than that, knowing that just because we did our job right, that there's soldiers, sailors, Marines alive today because we did our job right? That's really a humbling deal, and I really need to thank you, Steve, for being a part of bringing us into that, because we have tremendous passion for what we do. We feel our job is to build sharper swords for our warriors, and you brought us into that. So thank you.
Now, you have to thank me, Jeff. And you have to excuse me. Anytime you see me looking down like this, that means I'm getting messages from our moderators and from the viewers, contacting the moderators in the chat room. And I'm not as fast as Carl is, because I mean he can look down real quick and go back and forth. He's been doing this for years. And since I don't have an Instagram account, I was just talking to Nick about that, because some of the viewers say, Steve, you need an Instagram account, because we can't contact anybody to let them know to watch the show until the show starts, because it's live. So there's no, it's a precursor in that we say, hey, we're going to have a show at 7, but then we switch it from Tuesday to Monday. So now I'm trying to play catch up with some of these messages. And normally we can do it because Carl will be talking and I'll be texting. But I'm glad you brought that point out, because as far as like supporting the warfighter, I mean that was my job, and I thank God that He gave me the opportunity to do that job. And I tell the viewers often that we serve the kingdom of heaven. The things that happens to people like you and myself and other guys I mentioned, I'm glad you mentioned Chuck Marsh. I forgot to put his name in there. Sometimes, like I said, when you think something's going to be filled with barriers to stop you from accomplishing, the work you're doing, because you believe in that capability, which leads to that product, for the war fighters, and then it happens, overnight. I think about the Mark 262. I think about the Mark 12 SPR. I think about Coyote Brown, Flat Dark Earth, with the body armor, the equipment, the Special Forces load carrying system. And before that, we had chocolate chips. We had the 3-pattern desert DCUs. None of this stuff worked. And, just me being a hunter, I used to say, hey, these animals blend in so well. And you think it's one color, but it's not. It's a multicolor, but it's a base color there that you can kind of add to. And that program just, boom. So I tell people all the time, it's not, me. I'm not a engineer, designer, some kind of whatever you want to call it. I was once told by somebody I have a lot of respect for that, I'm a visionary. And I could see something, having seen the AMU compete service rifle with the 77 grain Sierra Match King. And so I went with them up to Camp Perry one summer, and I was just there to watch. I wasn't there to shoot, to compete. And I spent, 4 or 5 days there, and I had one of my shooters with me, Sean Renock, and I just asked him, I said, Sean, what do you think? Because I'm asking him, he's the warfighter. I'm a staff guy, working combat development. He said, man, that'd be incredible. And the AMU, again, Troy Lawton, Chris Murray, Sean Waller, the head guy, God bless him, I can't remember his name, OG, something like. Anyway, Mr. Bossman, he used to give me hell when I go down to AMU. He's like, I'm watching you. I'm like,
W.O. Harden. You're thinking of W.O. Harden.
W.O. Harden, God bless him, my man. W.O. was hard. I'm talking about leather left out in the desert for like 90 days. W.O. was hard on the brother. Every time we do something in the shop and the ammunition out at Parks Range, he'd say, hey, W.O. here. I said, here at Parks Range? He said, yeah. I said, okay. Wow. He said, he never comes here, except when you here. He's like, I'm watching you. He always thought I was up to something. I said, W.O., I'm trying to take what you guys have, your capability, that you work the bugs out, and transition that to the warfighter. And I'm just real quick. There's so many war stories on the Mark 262, Black Hills Ammunition. When we first went into Afghanistan after 9/11, one of our teams were out working with Dostum and the other Afghans, and one of the teams had a medic. It was Master Sergeant Kevin Moorhead, great guy. I mean, all SF medics, all people joined to the medical occupation are just good people at heart. It just turns out, like Carl Erickson here at the show, Kevin was a medic and he was a sniper. So it's like, I'll snipe you up and then I'll fix you up. And his team got pinned down in a valley in some foothills, and there was a I don't know what you call it, a big draw coming up into the hills they were in, and the bad guys, just like they do in all these different other scenarios, and start off with 20 of them. Next thing you know, there's 40 of them. Next thing you know, there's 16 Nissan Toyota trucks pulling up with, everything. Next thing you know, you got 300 guys. And the battle went on into the night, and it was hard for them to get fast movers in, because once the guys got into the foothills and the rocks in that valley and into that draw, they were danger close with the fast movers. So Kevin was running a Mark 12, and we had just put the Mark 262 into play about 2 or 3 months before they deployed. Because I remember having the guys out on the ranges, shooting zero and walking them through the different changes on the scopes that they had been using. We had just finally got Leupold to. Initially, they were making kind of like a hack job on the 3 to 9, but they're putting the mil dot reticles in it and the big turrets and everything else, which led to the Leupold CQT line of scopes, which were the final contract scopes on the Mark 12. So I had worked with those guys getting all that done before they deployed. And during the time period between their deployment and other teams' deployments, I kind of lost track of what was going on. But I heard about a firefight, a battle that one of the 5th Group snipers had taken out about 40 or 50 of the enemy. And I was like, really, wow. And me, not only being a combat developer working strike engagement, but also being the master sniper trainer for the group previous to that and starting the school, I was really interested in this. But again, with everything going on, it kind of got away from me. And later on, I found out that, and Phil Seaberger used to love this story because, Phil made the Suppressors Ops Inc. for the Mark 12 program. And during the fight that night, Kevin had gone to the right side of the draw, maybe about 200, 250 meters in the rocks. So every time the bad guys would come up that draw, they said it was pretty wide, about 40 meters wide, a lot of rocks, 2, 3, 4 feet tall. He said every time somebody would pop up to engage our guys at the top of the draw, where it was a RPK machine gun or RPG or whatever, their left side was exposed to Kevin. So Kevin, from maybe a little bit less than 300 meters at night, running the Mark 262 that you guys were making with that suppressor on it, no flash, every time somebody would pop up, he'd hit them. And then with all this shooting going back and forth and grenades, RPGs going, none of the enemy really kind of paid attention to the fact that their guys were getting hit, but certain guys were getting hit on the left side of their location. So when the sun came up and we got the reinforcements and the QRF came in, then we got the fast movers down into the valley. One of the guys, when they were doing an AAR bomb damage assessment, firefight assessment, taking all the weapons from the dead guys, one guy said, hey man, almost all these guys over here were hit underneath the left armpit. Yeah, and when they did the count, I think it was something like 54 or 56. And they said the only person that was over there was Kevin with his Mark 12 shooting the Mark 262. So that was one of the things that I briefed down at SOCOM. At the end of the year when we brief all the different programs at the SOCOM annual budget meeting, the SOCOM commander, I was just like a small peon, in the collection of all these colonels that were talking about Navy SEAL submarines and Air Force AC-130s and everything else. And they said, hey, that's how the 5th Group is going to talk about the Mark 262 program, the Mark 12 SPR program. And they gave me like 10 minutes. And when I started briefing, I used Kevin's story, and we had pictures. So I'm bringing pictures up on the slide, bringing pictures on the slide. And at the end of my 10 minutes, the SOCOM commander asked me maybe 6 or 7 questions. And it forced me to go into, the fact that the Mark 262 ammo is a civilian ammo contract, and it's not from Lake City like the rest of the, all the ammunition for SOCOM. So, I mean, this whole story with the 77 grain, just thanks to what you guys were able to create working with the AMU before, Special Ops even got there, it says a lot about Black Hills Ammunition.
We, as I mentioned, that's something we have a great passion for, to give our guys better tools so that they can come home.
So, you were saying earlier that you now have, what do you call it? Civilian packs, pack.
Yeah, it's Mark 262 Mod 1C. The C as in for commercial. So there's always been a great demand for this ever since the public heard about it. People wanted it, and we couldn't sell that. We didn't believe in using that term. So finally, we added the C to it, and we provide the same capability for the commercial market, except for we obviously can't put it through all the military lot acceptance testing. We can't use government equipment to test it, but it's the same round with the same capability. It just doesn't go through all the military lot acceptance testing. And we put it in a 460 round can versus a standard military 820. So that's available commercially, and it provides the same capability.
Roger that. I did not know that. I did not know that. And yes, TR Nation, you all know me. When we're talking to someone from another company that has products that you guys are interested in, we're going to hit them up for a TR discount code. And I'm going to jump on Jeff about that as soon as the show is over, because I know you guys are talking in the chat. I see you talking in the chat room, and I see I got some questions from JT, our moderator for tonight. And shout out to Susan and all the other moderators, because we caught them off guard. Military Monday versus Tactical Tuesday. But yes, we're going to talk to Jeff about a specific Tactical Rifleman Nation discount. So don't worry about that. And one of my first questions, okay, is from JT Yearsley. He wants, can you ask Mr. Hoffman to spend some time talking about his Honey Badger? I love the Lehigh type ammo for personal defense. Black Hills worked with Lehigh to design a different Lehigh Extreme Defender, whatever that means.
The Honey Badger is a solid copper monolithic bullet with flutes. We started it about 10 years ago. Dave Cricket from Lehigh sent me a sample of the fluted bullets, and I recognized the design. It looked like a Charlie Kelsey design that probably 30 years prior we had loaded for Charlie Kelsey. Charlie made them out of sintered material, and the design that Dave Fricky from Lehigh sent me was a machined bullet. And Dave says, "What do you think?" And I said, "Well, it's interesting. I recognize the design." And he said, "What do you think? What do you think of effectiveness?" I said, "It's good. Could be better." And fortunately, he wasn't an immediately offended person, and he knows me. When somebody asks me something, I just say it the way it is. It's way easier than dance around and just save a lot of time that way. But he wasn't offended. He said, how should it be different?" So we started discussing back and forth on how to make this bullet better. And after about 5 iterations, we came up with the Honey Badger design. That design is a joint pack with Lehigh and Black Hills Ammunition. And I told him the original design wasn't optimum in my mind, because it started with a narrow flute at the tip of the bullet, and then at the base of the bullet widened out into kind of a big ski slope. And that wasn't optimum in my mind. What I thought you should have a very wide opening at the beginning, and then narrow at the base of the bullet, halfway down the bullet, so that you're gathering tissue as it is moving at velocity, whatever.
This way.
Yep, there you go, right there. So you gather material, tissue, and I expel it radially as it's traveling through. And basically, it's one of the original terms we wanted to use was ballistic broadhead, because it actually cuts, it's very efficient at penetrating through tissue, and this will create a wound cavity based on pushing that tissue radially out. It'll create a wound cavity the same as a hollow point, but without the possibility of failures that a hollow point can have if it's plugged shut with heavy material, such as a leather jacket or heavy clothing. So it gets better barrier performance through things like carburetors, windshield, heavy clothing, and still performs very well. It's been a very successful projectile. Yep, there you go. That's the 9mm 100 grain. So it's been very successful. It's a proven design. You know, if we didn't have our own lab and hadn't done all the testing, I would be skeptical. I'd look at that and say, yeah, it looks kind of nifty. I've seen hundreds of tests of this, many hundreds of tests, and it works very well. Any questions you can think of, Steve? It's a great design.
Yeah,
it's more expensive because it's machined bullets are expensive to make, but your life depends on it. That extra cost really is not a huge consequence.
Okay. So on the Mark 262, what's the basic for the lowest common denominator box, the volume? Is it what, 20 rounds? You got 20 rounds per box, 50 rounds per box?
Yeah, they're 20 rounds per box, and the can has 460 rounds in it. So 20 boxes of 3 rounds each.
Okay. Okay, we're talking about, okay, question Mark 262. Okay, now we also have, and we're going over with these guys, but you know, sometimes some of our viewers watch, you know, a show when it's available, and sometimes they'll play it later because, as I found on my very first tactical rifleman show, anything on the internet stays forever. I thought because it was live, it meant that once the show was over with, it was done, it was over, it was gone, bye-bye. And so they'll watch the show later, and they'd ask questions, and I always talk about my favorite 308 load, 308 Winchester 7.62 by 51 NATO, for all you technical guys out there. It's always been the 155 grain Hornady Tap, Hornady AMAX, and they were asking if Black Hills made a comparable load, and I'd shown it on the show before when you sent the ammo in about a month and a half ago, and we went over everything on the line, and so just to refresh those who are asking about it, because I always get asked to say, hey, you talk about Black Hills all the time, but you also talk about Hornady 155 grain, and I said, well, Black Hills 308 Winchester is loaded with Hornady 155 grain projectiles. So I think they kind of got them confused because you're two different ammunition companies.
That confuses a lot of people. People don't understand that even though we compete with Hornady in the ammunition market, we're also great industry partners. Black Hills is an assembly plant. We don't make any of our component parts. We don't make projectiles. We don't make brass. Obviously, we don't make propellant. And we certainly don't make primers. That's dangerous stuff. We'll let somebody else do that. But that leaves us free to buy the best stuff on the market. And we use a lot of Hornady bullets. And the 155 is one of those. For a long time, we used the 155 AMAX. When Hornady came out with the ELD match bullet, we switched to that. It's a great bullet, half-minute angle accuracy, great terminal performance, penetrates to about 4.5 inches. very wide, very target. Shot a lot of deer with it. It works well. It does not get you exits on the field here. It legs it, the smaller weight doesn't handle it. It get dropped and stuff. I used it primarily because that was the round I carried for decades as a law enforcement sniper, and it's what my weapon was zeroed for. It's really not giving excessive penetration, but being very effective on target.
So for all you ammo techno nerds, you just heard it from the man himself. Okay? So Steve still likes his 155 grain AMAX TAP ELDX LGBTQ, whatever you want to call it. It's 115 grain Hornady projectile loaded at Black Hills Ammunition. Okay? We're good? We're good out there, peeps? All right. Yeah, and I know all you guys, what about the 6.5 Creedmoor? Nothing's ever been killed since they came out with the Creedmoor. Wine, baby. Bad baby. No squeezy. So, here it is. The 6.5 Creedmoor from Black Hills. And it's loaded with what? The ELDX. I'm so bad at this. Carla's got this thing figured out. So, 6.5 Creedmoor, Black Hills, 308, 155 grain, ELDX, Black Hills, projectile made by Hornady. What are your questions? Discount? That's all you got to talk about. Discount? Bad baby. Bad baby. Mr. Dr. Gary Roberts just gave you a shout out, and he says, telling everybody that you guys make great ammunition. I know you know Dr. Roberts, Gary.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've known him for a long time.
To all you viewers that don't know Dr. Roberts he was our impromptu go-to guy for terminal ballistic performance on munitions when we couldn't get anything official going. Not anything official going, but primarily we had to use FBI Ballistic Research Lab run by Special Senior Agent, knock on wood, 007, Mr. Buford Boone. Of course, Mr. Buford Boone had other priorities other than 5th Special Forces Group coming in as part of SOCOM with people from Crane and Tiswig to get him to do stuff with us. I mean, he didn't just like sit around twiddling his thumbs going, man, I wish Special Forces would give me something to do today. So Dr. Roberts he worked for Dr. Martin Fackler, who was like the Rembrandt of terminal ballistics performance. And Dr. Roberts was the guy that we first did the workup on the 6.8 SPC. Let me back up on that one. He did the workup on the SPCs, because at the time we had 5.56 SPC, we had 6mm SPC, 6.5 SPC. Yes, guys, there was a 6.5 SPC, all you 6.5 fans. And we had jumped over the 270, which is the 6.8, and we went to 7mm and 30 caliber. So the 7.62 SPC looks like a 7.62 by 39 AK-47 round on steroids. Troy Lawton was actually the guy that brought it up during one of our ballistic tests that, hey, you guys jumped over to 270. And I said, okay. I mean, we had the resources at the time. I said, let's make some ammunition in 270, which I later designated as 6.8, which nobody even knows why I designated it as 6.8, and I hold that secret to this day. And Dr. Roberts was the one that did the initial ballistic workup for us because the FBI, BRL, was busy supporting FBI agents. So that's when we switched over to 6.8. And then when a time slot was open, we were able to go to Quantico and do the workup on the 6.8 SPC ammunition for Colonel Parks to give us a green thumb light, clear to use in combat, that kind of thing. Some of us kind of got screwed up in the whole process that we went through. Maybe we were moving too fast, and maybe some of it was, my fault because I wasn't focused on that one specific project. You got to remember, I ran the 5th Group Force Mod Shop. I had 6 NCOs that worked for me in all the commodity areas: mobility, communications, combat medicine, and I just couldn't jump into everybody's realm each and every day. So the 6.8 got delayed, and we had a couple of hiccups because I didn't know there were certain things I should have checked that I didn't check. But anyway, I digress. Dr. Roberts is one of the best American persons I've ever worked with. And a lot of people in the industry kind of gave him a hard time to go because he did a lot for ballistic research. I mean, I'm talking about even going to being certified in California as a forensics guy, going to law enforcement shootouts and studying, the bodies forensically to see how the ammunition performed. And a lot of people gave him a hard time to go because he's a dentist by profession. And some people just can say, oh, who's coming to look at this bad guy that we shot with, honey badger ammo to give us a determination? And say, oh, the dentist is coming. So a lot of people in the profession really gave Dr. Gary Roberts a hard time. And I love myself some Gary Roberts. All right. What a great American. So shout out to you, Dr. Roberts. And Dr. Roberts is giving a shout out to Jeff Hoffman. And you want to talk about a little bit more about some Black Hills ammunition. One of my favorites. Ta-da! I guess I'm being a bad baby. Bad baby. Now you guys know how I am with lever actions, okay? And there's only one lever action round out there that really gets my attention always and forever. And that is, ta-da, okay, Steve's got to do the whole box jiggle thing. Where you at, Carl? I need you to hold my props while I talk about it. Ta-da, I'm going to hold it up with the left hand. That is the Black Hills Cowboy ammunition. Cowboy action. That is the 4570. Tilt the box, Steve. Tilt the box. Lift the box, Steve. Push it in close. 405 grain flat point lead. Aside from the 6.8 SPCs, and now you're 6.8 by 51, your 308 Winchester, 155 grain, your 6.5 Creedmoor, you got to have a 4570. Because someone in the FBI, who I probably never mentioned yet, yes I did, Buford Boone, he said, Sarge, you know the best way to stop a vehicle? I go, okay, Mr. Ballistic Research Lab expert, how is that? Shoot the engine block? Shoot. He goes, shoot the driver. And if you got a Black Hills 4570, you can still shoot the engine block. Jeff, we were doing a workup on the lever actions, and all the rest of the guys on the team were shooting ARs right out here. Carl's got a range at his house that, if you look at all our videos, you see the range, the whatever drills they're running, whatever platforms they're using. You see the concrete and the obstacles and the vehicles. That's actually at Carl's house. So they were shooting from 100 with 308, 6.5 Creedmoor, and everything else. The targets were the little small armored silhouettes, and they just kind of hang there on the stand. So these guys are pinging, ping, 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 ping. I cranked off the first round of the Black Hills 405 grain cowboy round out of that 26-inch barrel Marlin cowboy gun. It hit the steel and knocked the whole stand down. And everybody that was shooting stopped shooting, and they looked at me and they said, "What the hell is that?" I said, "That's the Black Hills, and that was the light load." That was the light load. And then we shot, I forget what it was, the 300 something grain.
225 Honey Badger.
I think so.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh my gosh, oh my gosh!" So of course we were doing workups on I had the Marlin because I love my Marlin, but we were doing a workup on the Henry X rifles. And Carl's got a 357 Magnum. I'm doing 45 Colt and 45-70, and all the guys out there say, "Steve, you got to hook us up, man. We need to call Henry and get a discount for some 45-70 Black Hills ammunition." And this one load, like I said, it's pure lead. And a lot of guys are like, "Well, you grabbing the wrong one." So you got your lead bullets and you got all these other bullets before me, and I have to remind the guys that are part of the TR Nation that the load and ammunition change over time depending on performance and popularity, but the human body doesn't change. The human body is the same thing. Last week, guys were talking to us about energy weapons. I said, "Guys, we're not going to get energy weapons until they figure out a way to make it be safe after it misses the target." Because you turn the light on, even though you say, "Well, I can only see 50 yards with this light," well, still at 100, 250, 200 yards, that beam of light, that energy is still going. So you're going to have your phaser rifle, your laser rifle, your particle, whatever, until they figure out how to make it stop and not hit the house that's 200 yards down the road, you're always going to have something using kinetic energy. And was it Newton that taught us that, what is it, E squared? Come on, guys in the chat room. The mass times velocity. 405 grain projectile was killing good people and bad people back in the 1850s. And guess what? Good people and bad people haven't changed. So guess what? As Carl always says, and I always say, and Clint Smith always says, beware the man with only one firearm. He might know how to use it. And if he's got a 45-70 with Black Hills, woohoo! Bad baby. No squeezy. So, that's the 45-70. Ta-da! Now that's a bad baby. I like this. The Honey 44 Magnum Honey Badger. Get some respect. As Mr. Coonan said last week on the show, when we were showing the Coonan 357 Magnum 1911 and the Black Hills 357 Magnum Honey Badger, he said, "Men will respect you, hot women will seek you out, and dogs will no longer want to pee on your leg." And guys, I mean, this is like ammo salad. I got ammo salad going here. Yeah, I should get like a salad bowl, Black Hills salad bowl, right? And just like Black Hills Halloween bowl, and sit it out on the front porch. No, I won't. Let me stop right there. I'm gonna stop right there. Before somebody does something like that, I denounce what I was saying. That was a joke. Because somebody might show up with the right firearm that fits your ammunition in your little Halloween bowl. So Jeff, yeah,
With that 44 honey badger, there's something that a lot of people don't realize. When you that's basically a pistol cartridge, but when you put that in a carbine like a 20-inch Model 94, you've got an entirely different cartridge there because it's got a case full of a slow burning powder, and that longer barrel allows that powder to burn efficiently. And now instead of something that starts at 1,600 feet per second, it's going out of that carbine at about 2,200 feet per second. When you shoot that into ballistic gelatin, all kinds of stuff happens. First time we shot that into ballistic gelatin, I looked at that and said, wow. I said, I've seen that picture before, so I started looking through our library of prior gelatin shots, and what I came up with was a 308 with 180 grain AccuBond. We were getting the same gelatin performance with that 160 grain bullet out of a Model 94 carbine. It was creating the same wound cavity as shooting a gel block with a 308 180 AccuBond. Same diameter. If I put my finger over the projectile and show you the two pictures, you can tell which was shot with which caliber. That is incredible performance out of that cartridge when you put it in a carbine.
Wow. Wow. You guys hear that? This round, it's the 160 grain 44 Magnum Honey Badger, Black Hills, out of a carbine, which, remember, the carbines that we were running the ammo for the videos that we were doing, along with Henry, is the 37 Magnum, 44 Magnum, 45 Colt, and 45-70. We haven't shot this yet. We haven't gotten to this yet out of the carbine. So the next time we do a workup, I'm going to make sure we have extra gel blocks to throw the 44 Magnum Black Hills 160 Honey Badger into the mix, because that's good to know. Because, you know, I love myself some lever action carbines, and I'm a big fan of revolvers along with the carbine, lever action or whatever, pump action or whatever, that takes the same ammunition. I mean, that goes all the way back to the Old West with the 44-40, the 45 Colt. You remember all their rifles, lever action rifles, took the same ammunition. So you always had ammunition. You didn't have, you know, a 9mm pistol and 5.56 carbine. So knowing that the 44 Magnum 160 is duplicating the performance, terminal performance, the same as the 308 round, that's impressive. Jeff,
we can see when I verify. After the show here, make my call.
Why is it doing that? Jeff, we've got a little bit of an echo. I got Mr. Nick here. He's going to...
It's got only noise configuration. We designed that so that it's safe for the lever guns. You can load that with a lever gun. The nose of the bullet is against the primer around the head of it, or could be. That round is designed so that it's completely safe to use in a lever action weapon. That projectile can't land. We've made that broad enough, and with a concavity in the center of it, that bullet can't land on the primer in front of it while it's in a tubular magazine. So it's safe for use in a lever gun.
Okay. We're tracking. Oh, Jeff, I know we're jumping around here. We're getting a little behind on the questions. The question is from Colby Dixon. Mr. Dixon, how you doing today, sir? He said, my question is from Mr. Hall and Mr. Hoffman. How did you balance accuracy and terminal ballistic performance on the Mark 262? Jeff, I'm going to let you take that one.
That round uses a match bullet. What the military terms an open tip match projectile. It's got an open tip on it, but open tip is not designed for terminal performance. That's trivia. That's the reason why the military refers to that design as an OTM or open tip match design as opposed to a hollow point. The Geneva Convention, well, actually the Hague Convention, everybody talks about the Geneva Convention, but it's actually the Hague Convention, specifically disallows bullets that are designed to create unnecessary harm or suffering. This bullet, the hollow of the nose is actually an open tip, and it's there for the purpose because of making the most accurate bullet. It's not there for terminal performance. It's there because that's the way you make the most accurate projectiles. The government, when they came to us, was concerned about accuracy primarily, but they also wanted effectiveness. So we designed the accuracy into it, and the bullet basically provided the effectiveness. That bullet is what's called yaw dependent. When it hits within 2 to 3 inches, the bullet will go into a yaw, and if the velocity is still high enough, the bullet will fragment. And that's not unusual for bullets. Many bullets, including the M193, operate the exact same way. The 55 grain FMJ of Vietnam era performs the same way. When the bullet hits, it destabilizes, goes into a yaw, and fragments. So the Mark 262 does the same thing. It just does it a little bit better than 855 does. The 855 has a heavier jacket, and so it, at the lower velocities, longer distances, it's not as effective as the Mark 262. So we did not design in any terminal to that projectile. That projectile just is effective at longer distances than 855 just by virtue of how the bullet is constructed. We designed the bullet for accuracy, and the terminal performance just came along with the projectile that we used. Does that pretty much summarize it, Steve?
Yep, that pretty much summarizes it. Everything is always about accuracy. It's not about terminal performance. And specifically when you're doing a requirement like we did to introduce ammunition other than M855, the document specifically states it's about accuracy. It's all about accuracy. This is more accurate than an M855 out at this distance, which was part of the Mark 262 program. And keep in mind, Mr. Kobe, that we took what the AMU was already using. We didn't change anything. So we couldn't say, hey, they have the best terminal performance ammunition versus M855. We said they have the best, most accurate ammunition out to 600 meters. And that was our goal, is to give our guys a 600 meter capability. Not this old requirement that's stuck in all the ammunition documents from like World War I. Penetrated steel pot at 600 yards. Somebody should have taken that out of requirements, during Vietnam, because one, the Viet Cong didn't wear steel pots. Okay, they had the one incident in Vietnam where the 55 grain 5.56 round that was first introduced with the M16 family of firearms, and you always hear it. Oh, we shoot a guy in the chest and the round comes out his elbow. Yeah, I would love to have Beefer Boone and Dr. Roberts there sent back in time to that one incident so they could go and walk up to this guy and say, okay, is this the guy you're going to base the rest of our warfighting capability on this one incident? And did he really get shot? He shot him in the chest and came out his arm, or did somebody else jerk the trigger over here and hit him in the arm also? I mean, you can't just, go based on something like that. That one sample, you got to have, all you guys know all that stuff about, beta testing and all this other stuff. You can't just base everything on what happened to one guy in combat. So, yep, I hope that answers this question, Jeff. Okay, okay. My question is for Mr. Hoffman. Okay, I missed that one. Do you have any ammo using Hammer products from Montana?
No. No, we don't.
What is Hammer products? I'm not familiar with them.
No offense, but I'm not either. I'm sure if this guy's asking, they're making good stuff, but I'm not familiar with them.
Jeff, please don't be shy. I tell them all the time. I have no idea what you're talking about. You know, back when I used to do this for a living, work for a living, and do this, my job paid for every firearms magazine subscription there was in the world, and I had stacks of firearms magazines, and I read them all as they came in, and I was up to date on everything. Sometimes they'll ask me something, and I'll tell them I don't know. I'll follow up on it. Sometimes when Carl's talking, I might Google it and read about it, and then come back and say, okay, I read a little bit about it. I like it. I don't like it, and this is why. But you know, like you, I have not heard of Hammer products. Now, if Carl was here, and he'd be sitting here in the big chair being chatty, I'll be over there looking up Hammer and doing a little research on the products. Okay, the Hammer. Okay, does our military take real-world bullet performance data from the battlefield? Without further ado, what's up? Jeff, does our military take real-world bullet performance data from the battlefield?
Do they specify battlefield results and design ammo around that? Is that what the question says?
Hold on. Work it, Nick. Work it. No, I was talking to Nixter. Okay, I need to do this.
Alright, try talking again.
Test 1 2. Test 1 2. Jeff, see, we're trying to track down that echo on you, Jeff.
Oh, test 1 2 3. Test.
That was we're good. We're good.
Maybe I'm just getting too loud.
So the we're talking about. Okay, whatever. Okay, performance data from the battlefield. I'm pretty sure our military still does. I'm pretty sure. I probably should even hit Jeff with that one. We take battlefield battles and skirmishes, after action reports and assessments on everything we do. Even say a vehicle gets hit by an IED. We do an assessment of what happened, what we think caused it, what part of the vehicle was disabled and where it was hit, what would it take to prevent that in the future, whether it's early detection of an IED or better armoring of the vehicle. Same thing with ammunition. Same thing with the weapons. In the civilian world, more normally called firearms. That's an ongoing thing. That's nonstop. So yes, they do. Okay. Farms. We did that one. Okay. Same thing. Navy 95. Honey Badger. I'm interested in fluted bullets. Why is it lighter? Why is a lighter grain bullet better?
With monolithic copper bullets, you can accomplish things with a much lighter projectile than the lead bullet. Part of the reason is the monolithic lead and monolithic copper bullets aren't designed to fragment, and they aren't designed to expand. If you were to take a lightweight conventional lead cord bullet and push it fast, you could cause it to overexpand and fragment and thus underpenetrate. With a monolithic copper bullet, it will penetrate, retain its mass, and penetrate deeper, even though it's a lighter weight bullet. Therefore, you can push it faster without concerns about the bullet coming apart and not performing well. That's one thing even with rifle monolithic bullets that people don't understand. Like for a 308 or a 30 aspects, people say, well, the really can't hunt elk is a 180 or 200 grain bullet. With monolithic bullets, you can accomplish the same thing. That the bullets weigh 150, 165 grains and still get superior penetration and performance to some of the heavier lead cord bullets. Just a difference in material and how it reacts when it hits the target. In short, you can, the reason the bullets are lighter is that you can accomplish things with lighter weight copper bullets than you can with heavier lead bullets. That you don't need that extra weight of monolithic copper bullet.
Well, I hope that answers his question. Without further ado, Navy 95, Honey Badger. Your thoughts, insight that you can share with us on the rationale on the 9mm ammo being a 3-fin solid copper projectile versus the Lehigh 4-fin from a hydraulic perspective.
The Lehigh bullets and the Black Hills bullets have a common origin. Lehigh and Black Hills work together on it. Thus, and a lot of people ask that question. They say, you know, did somebody steal somebody's technology here? No, Lehigh and Black Hills are joint patent holders on this fluid transfer monolithic projectile design. Some of our bullets are 3-flute, some of them are 4-flute. I personally like big flutes. So if you get 3 big flutes, I like 3 big flutes versus 4 smaller flutes. That doesn't work on every cartridge. For example, when you get 44s and 45s, if you try to do 3 big flutes, particularly on a semi-auto cartridge like the 45 ACP, you get a cartridge that has a different profile for feeding depending on how it's lining up. And so if you try to get great big flutes on a 45 ACP, it could lead potentially to some feed problems. So we tend to go more towards the 4-flute on the bigger bullets. But on the 9s, I kind of lean where possible to go to the 3-flute just to have more tissue grabbing flute area that you can grab and focus radially outward from the bullet for good terminal performance.
Can you do that? Squeezy?
Yep. The flutes do make impressive video.
So, Jeff, on the, as you were talking earlier on the 44 Magnum 160 grain Honey Badger and your wound channel almost matched that of a 308. And some later time, or maybe send it to me and I'll put it on the show next week. Could you send us pictures of that?
I certainly can.
Okay, I'd love to see that. I mean, just to be able to let people know that, because like I said, I'm a big fan of 44 Magnum, 45 Long Colt, 45-70, and the pistol carbine ammunition thing, and to all you Thunder Ranch fans, you know, I got much respect for Mr. Clint Smith. I mean, he's like one of my idols. But I loved revolvers way before I started training with him, and when he was out in Kerrville, Texas. We did the first Mark 12 SPR user assessment workup out at Thunder Ranch out in Texas. Good times, good times. But I've always been into revolvers because put a revolver in a can in your nightstand in a safe, leave it there 10, 12 years, and if you ever need it, you pull it out. It's most likely going to work. And do that with a semi-automatic, you're most likely going to have magazine-related malfunctions. So I'm a big revolver fan, and if I can match the revolver to a carbine, again, it doesn't necessarily have to be lever action. Some of you guys are not into lever actions. I believe that I like semi-automatic pistol carbines. I like straight rifle carbines, not the AR type. But I like lever actions as a manual action because, again, when you get into having stuff sit around for a long time, anything that's manual operated tends to operate more so than semi-automatic. Semi-automatic has a lot of springs, even though a lever action feed tube has the springs. Speaking of lever actions, I'm going to be bringing you guys some lever action stuff based on, and I know we talked about this last year, and yes, I am disappointed with you. I'm going to talk to you guys about and show you guys the lever action lower receiver for an AR-15, which everybody's like, what? Yeah, you got a lower for an AR-15, lower, magazine well, trigger group, pistol grip, stock, collapsible or fixed, Mach 12 SPR type thing. Well, there's a lever action lower that you put your upper on and you get busy, okay? We talked about that last year. Y'all have to keep up. We're kind of behind the power curve on that, but I did get the message the other night that we will be seeing one by this time next week. And we can go into that. And Jeff, you're always, welcome whenever we're doing a show. If you just say, hey, man, I know you guys are doing a show with Clint Smith, but something just happened at Black Hills, I'd like to jump in there for about 10 minutes or 15 minutes. We'll always have time for you, Jeff. Always have time.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So when we talk about lever actions and push-pull actions, which I also like, mechanical actions, remember, a bolt action takes 4 movements, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. A push-pull takes 1, 2. A lever action takes 1, 2. Cut that in half when you run bolt guns, and you have that same capability, that strength of action to handle that cartridge you're shooting. So that's why I'm asking Jeff. I would love to post the pictures of his gel shots with the 308 Winchester 155 grain round and the 44 Magnum Honey Badger out of a 20-inch carbine, because that's more decision-making information out to you guys in the TR Nation, so you can look at that and say, you know what, maybe I will go with a lever-action carbine. Because remember, a lever-action carbine is not going to look as bad on you in court versus an AR-15. Okay, it's like, wait a minute, this is the same thing my grandpa used. So you always got to keep that in mind. But I'm looking forward to it. I have not shot the 44 Magnum Honey Badger ammo out of a carbine, and we actually haven't done our workup on the Henry X 44 Magnum carbine. So we have Black Hills ammunition, we have the carbine, and now that we know that there's something really significant we should be able to see, then we're going to put that into rotation. I'll talk to Carl about that when he gets back. Oh, he's probably listening right now, sitting there listening right now, drinking his coffee. What's that coffee he drinks? That Kahlua is something. So I know. Okay, I got a phone. I'm working, JT. I'm working. Okay. Let me see. Okay. Can the gentleman please? Okay, I'm trying to make sure, JT, I don't skip any. Rational 9mm, 3 fin. Okay. Can the gentleman please speak to or share insight on frangible ammunition from a Black Hills perspective? Is it easy or difficult to get them from a supply chain perspective?
Um, we do make some frangible. We never dived deep into frangible when it became really popular, for the reason that I looked at it and our decision was this is going to turn into a commodity really quick. And for the most part, we were right. We do make some frangible. We make a 223 55 grain varmint grenade from Barnes. That's a frangible bullet with a copper tin compressed core. We also make a military load that's a jacketed bullet with a copper tin core, but it's not an economy round. Uh, the round that we make, the military needed something that would not tear up shoot houses, but it had to be 100% reliable. And to be some frangibles, it's improved over time, but without a jacket on it, some frangibles have exhibited a tendency to be brittle. If you overcrimp them slightly or drop the loaded magazine, you could either break the tip or set up an incipient fracture that would show up when the guy was shooting. And if the guy was shooting a gun with a can on it, at that point you would frag the can. And Steve, you've probably seen that happen. The frangible round that we make for the military is the most prominent version is called the Mark 255 Mod 1. That's a round that's point jacketed, so the bullet grade or fragment doing function or firing and frag the can on it. So it's been really well received for shoot house work. It's not real popular in the commercial sector simply because it's not an economy frangible round, and most people don't need that for their use in shooting steel targets. Although it is really handy, I had an opportunity a few years back to train with asymmetrical warfare, and I had sent some of this frangible ammo to one of the sergeants that was running this, and while I was training, we had a break in our evolution, and I saw the sergeant who I had provided some of this ammunition to, this frangible ammunition, who was shooting a steel E-silhouette, but he was shooting at 25 yards. So since we were on break, I trotted over there and I said, "Sergeant, do you have any ammo left?" He said, "Sure." And I said, "Can I borrow your M4?" He said, "Sure." And so I took his weapon and started marching on the target, walked right up to the target and firing. And I knew that I was safe. There was no danger of shrapnel coming back to me because we had developed the round. And when I got done, I looked up and our medic was sprinting across the field, hollering stuff about what a stupid son of a bitch I was, because he figured, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to kill yourself walking up on a target, shooting out like that? You're going to have ricochets come back and ventilate you. I said, no, it won't do that. We designed this round. I know what it'll do. So it's very good for close quarters training on steel targets, but it costs more to do it that way with a jacket on it than it does to make just a non-jacketed frangible. So yes, we do make it, but it isn't real common because it costs more money. The military loves it, of course, but that's the story of that.
Okay, well, Mr. Navy 95, I hope we answered your questions, and we have quite a few more. Navy 95, he's he's on you, Jeff. He says 556 question. What round that Black Hills makes offers the most lethality of a two-leg critter out to the furthest range? 50 grain, 62 grain, 69 grain, 70 grain, 77 grain, Because they're all options on your website.
The 77 grain projectile will offer the best accuracy and the best ability to hit at very long distances. The 77 grain tipped match king has a slight advantage. People will call, they'll question me on this, but my brother runs a shooting facility and he's taken that round out to a mile or over a mile on east silhouettes. That sounds crazy, but I know that it's I helped years ago proved out at 1,100 yards at least. You can kind of feel like a musical instrument. You know, you fire with a suppressed weapon and you get, and then a few seconds later, as the sound gets back to you, you hear clink, clink, clink. That's 1,100 yards. It's not hard at all. And I think Steve could speak to that. As far as terminal performance, the 62 grain offers better barrier performance and equal terminal performance out to significant distances. Generally, most bullets, they're designed with a window that they're performed best at. And the window is typically about 1,200 feet per second wide. So most bullets are designed for closer range because that's where most of the shooting happens. So by the time you get to about 400 yards, most projectiles are not performing as in expanding, fragmenting. They will go into a yaw, they're cutting a swath as they go through sideways, but most 5.56 bullets stop performing at about, by the time you get to 400 yards, they've stopped performing. That doesn't mean they're not effective, it just means they're not as effective as they are at 300 yards. Over.
Okay. Well, Navy 95, I hope we answered your question. John Brady would like to know if Black Hills produces the 6.8 in subsonic.
No, we're not offering a 6.8 SBC or the 6.8 that Sig is working on. We're not currently loading any 6.8s.
Oh, bad baby!
Sorry about that, Steve.
Bad baby! You mean you're the tactical rifleman. You Black Hills Ammunition Company. You gotta make a 6.8.
I'm sorry, buddy.
You gotta talk to Miss Christie. You gotta make a signature 6.8 round.
We could. That wouldn't be a hard round to make subsonics for it. We were actually able to get 5.56 to function subsonically, and no matter what anybody tells you, that is a hard project. But the 6.8 would be an easier deal.
Yeah, I've got 6.8 subsonic loading data. Oh my gosh, me and Sean Renock, when we did our 6.8 workups, because we would go to Parks Range, and Chris Murray was working on the carbines. Sean Waller, the magician, they should call him Merlin, because he can just take a piece of metal rod, and turn it into half inch and 1,000 yards like 3 weeks later. I used to sit there and just watch him. Sit there and just watch the little machine turn. He'd look up at the digital numbers and he'd look up again. He said, I got to run a short chamber. He'd look up. He said, okay, I'm going to put it on your gun. He said, go shoot it and tell me what you think. I was like, oh my God. The guy's a wizard. But the subsonic, a lot of you guys in TR Nation, you remember when I talked about the Mark 12 program, the SPR program. After the SPR program, there was an SPRV, which was the initial program that was driving everything we were doing in regards to a new weapons platform, and new ammunition. The SBRV program was the intent, the objective was to have a weapon system that fired 5.56, which was, of course, the Mark 262, and 7.62 by 39, which was predominant ammunition in the Middle East, in Africa, and East Europe, and just about every place else you went, other than NATO countries, and special forces were always in there. So the SPRV program was going to be a switch rifle at 5.56, and then you switch and take AK-47 magazines. That original requirement was put out as a solicitation, and it was won by oh my gosh, I'll think of it in a minute. It's been a while. It was but it was called the Mark 92 for some reason. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. See, that's why I need Carl, because he could talk, and I can go back and check. Gosh damn it! But anyway, the SPRV was canceled because they awarded the primary contract to young, gosh dang it, Young Enterprises, it'll come to me, and they awarded at Crane, the cronies up there, awarded a secondary contract to Nice Armament, and that's why Nice Armament came up with their SR-47, Stoner Rifle 47, and basically because Eugene Stoner was alive then, and he was down there with Reed Knight, working with Reed Knight. I got a chance to sit down and talk with Mr. Stoner several times on my visits down there. We didn't have a requirement for a double rifle contract. So Crane, not just Crane, but certain people within the Crane Weapons Directorate that were pro-Nice Armament, they awarded a second contract for $1. And it didn't matter to me as a requirements writer and the end user unit, it didn't matter to me whether it was $1 if it was 50 cents. That would let them into the door to muddy everything up the way they had been doing in the past. So we basically canceled the contract. But the SPRV was 7.60 by 39, and that led to the creation of the 6.8, because I remember telling the guys when we got back, if we can't have something that shoots 7.62 by 39, which we liked as a caliber, because our guys are getting hit by it. We know what that caliber was doing versus us hitting them with 5.56. That's what started the genesis of me wanting to design a 6.8. But during that time period, we had designed a subsonic 7.62 by 39, myself and Sean Renock, and it was shooting a 220 grain Sierra, 30 caliber Sierra Match King at about 815 feet per second out of a 12-inch gun, shooting a ½ inch at 100 yards. And to this day, I have not seen anything like that. And I think I remember showing you guys one of my targets, because Jeff, I always kept my targets. Whenever we would go to the range, that target would have all the ballistic data, all the atmospheric data, everything, barrel twist, type round, type projectile, type powder, how much powder, type primer. I mean, I said every target must stand alone if I'm not there. The person that's looking at this and say, what did you use to get this size group at 100 subsonic? They should be able to read that target data and get everything they need. So when we got away from the SPRV to 7.60 by 39, and we finally started progress with the 6.8, I told Sean, I said, Sean, you might as well design a 6.8 subsonic round. And I have data on probably 3 or 4 different setups with different projectiles. I want to say there was a company, I know it's in my notes, but there's a company that used to make round nose lead bullets for hunting for 270 Winchester, jacketed bullets. And they were the only company I could find that was making 270 projectiles in the 170 to the 180 grain weight. most 270 Winchester rounds stopped at 160. So we were using the 180s to make the subsonics for the 6.8. So 6.8 is very easy. The only thing that kind of messed us up was we had to go to a 1-8 twist barrel. And the barrels that we had made at the time for the Mark 12 SBRs and 6.8s were 1 in 10. So I had to make, be really, really careful on make sure that the barrels were marked so the guys will know, hey, that's a 1 in 8, not a 1 in 10. So if you shoot, 115 grain 6.8, back then we had the Sierra Match King. We used to call it a K bullet. The guy at Sierra, you probably remember, his name was Pat.
Pat Daly?
Yeah. Pat and Kevin. Kevin something. Big guy. But Pat, because Pat started Starline Brass, right?
Sorry, what?
Starline Brass?
Went to work for him. Well, no, Matt Rins went to work for Starline. Matt was one of them at Sierra. Pat went to work for a cup company making cartridge cups.
Okay. Well, those guys were part of the process when we worked up the 115 grade Sierra Match King along with Hornady. Dave Emery. Dave Emery was our guy at Hornady. But there were 4 different 6.8 subsonic loads that we did. I'll take a look in my book of woe and see exactly what that was, if I can find them on all the other piles of books and stuff that I've got. But 6.8 is very, very easily subsonic. I want to say we use a 1 in 8 or 1 in 8.5 twist on the subsonic rounds. The Buford Boone and Pete Gold say hello.
Hey, Pete.
Buford, I hope you got checked in the time and see that I was talking about you earlier. Your brilliantness, is that such a word? The BRL. Well, so Jeff, and back to the viewer that asked the question. I'll leave it up to Jeff whether he wants to make a signature. Well, let me go back. I'll leave it up to Miss Christie if she wants to make a signature 6.8 SPC subsonic round. Okay, there we go. Easy. 56, John Brady.
The rule is we do whatever she says.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you, this 7.62 by 39 subsonic round Sean Renock and I worked on. I mean, I was amazed. A 220 Sierra Match King. Remember, the 7.62 by 39 is .309, whereas, of course, the 308 is .308. So we were running the Sierra Match King in the AK-47 type barrel. But, some people say, .308 to .308 to .310. Like, that's going to be a big deal. And it used to make me just want to say, bad baby. No, squeezy. Was that .002? What difference is that going to make? Do you know what happens? The whole dynamic process of what happens when you fire ammunition cartridge case complete. There's a whole lot of dynamics going on in there between that bullet, the powder behind it, the gases, the rifling, and all this other stuff. I learned all this stuff at the AMU. You know, everyone's like, oh, you're going to shoot a .310 bullet in a .308 barrel. And I'll turn and look at them and go, pow! I just did. Next. So we were running the 308 Sierra Match Kings and 310 barrels, which, I mean, these things were, I'm not kidding. I remember Sean shot a group. This is out of I want to say, I'm going to check my data, but it's a 10.5 inch or a 12.5 inch AR. This thing was running 5 shots in like half minute and 100 subsonic. It was incredible. But of course, all that stopped when we got approval to go ahead and move forward with the 6.8. And so the other ammunition, what haven't we talked about? We talked about the Creedmoor. Pete, I know you're watching. I know you're probably a Creedmoor fan. You know, I tell you, Jeff, this Creedmoor kind of reminds me of things that comes out of Fort Bragg from the guys over there behind the fence. Everybody goes, oh, the guys behind the fence are using it. It's like, it's the latest hotness. You know, the 6mm ARC, it's the latest hotness. We dropped the 6mm ARC type platform when we were making the 6.8 SPC. If you look, the 6mm ARC is on the same shell case as the 6.8 SPC. We went 6mm, 6.5. If you want to have something that's smoking, try the 6.5 SPC. I was like that close to saying we're going with the 6.5 until we did work with the 6.8 and working with supervisory special agent, Buford Boone, retired, and the jail test, to going with the 6.5. Because I tell you that 6.5 flew, man. I mean, it flew like a freaking UFO. Like the ones you see the pilots chasing. They say, wait a minute, that thing changed direction. You know? I mean, that 6.5 SPC was, and the guys that work with me, they'll tell you, I love 6.5 SPC. But until it came down to mass times velocity, accuracy, and what payload you're delivering on target, my job was to give my guys what I thought was the best performance they could get on a program that, you know, we were blessed to even have the ability to even get started on it. And, you know, it's just one of those things that ammunition is ammunition. Accuracy is accuracy. Lethality is lethality. Performance is performance, guys. So just keep in mind, there are so many things out there that works. But for us, or not us, because I'm not in the military anymore, sustainability, availability, reliability, those are the key things. So that's one of the things that I love about Black Hills Ammunition, because it's going to go pow every time. It's not only going to go pow every time, it's going to go where it's supposed to go uniformly, or what you want to call accurately, and repeatably each and every shot. And that's one of the things that, you know, when we worked up the contract, from our observations at the AMU, working what is to become the Mark 262, the contract went to Black Hills, because Jeff is, I don't know if you can call law enforcement guys war fighters, first responders, or we call our guys war fighters. What do you guys call your guys?
Cops.
Yeah, but I'm saying, well, I mean, our guys are soldiers, but they're the ones at the tip of the spear. So what I'm saying is, you being at the tip of the spear in law enforcement, you understand why and what it feels like if the firearm goes click, but nothing goes boom.
Yeah, I think we have something in common. One of my favorite quotes is we sleep soundly in our beds at night because we sleep soundly in our beds because rough men stand ready in the night to visit violence upon those who would harm us. And that's what soldiers do, that's what cops do. And most people don't ever think of that. It's cops and soldiers are kind of like electricity or water. When you flip the switch or turn the faucet, something happens, but you don't think about it other than that. Cops and soldiers are the people outside in the night, making sure that you can sleep soundly. So that's how I look at cops and soldiers. That's what we have in common.
Absolutely, and well said. And that makes me think of all these activists over the last 2 or 3 years in these big cities with the defund the police. It's kind of funny how everybody's walking around shouting defund the police until something goes bump in the night, and you hit those three numbers 911 and nobody answers. So you got to have that availability, that resource of someone to go out there and say, we'll make sure that you sleep well, even if it happens, then we'll come after it happens, but we're going to do our best to fix it, that it won't happen to anybody else again. So that's the premise of a free country, and having people that are multi-talented, like I think President George Washington, General George Washington, wasn't he like a carpenter or something like that? Or was that Christ Jesus? Jesus Christ Jesus a carpenter. What was George Washington as a his job other than being president?
What a landowner?
Plantation owner? Or, I think he had a skill. I forget what it was. So, guys, we are about caught up. I think. Okay, no, we're not. Pete Gold said they are just guns. He can shoot all of them. Of course he can. Because you're Pete Gold. Okay, we have. Okay, usually, given what he just said is Steve's opinion and experience, it's okay to shoot 7.62 by 39 through an American 30 caliber suppressor. Toby BMP, do not shoot 7.62 by 39 through an American caliber suppressor based on something you heard me say on this show, okay? I'm going to caveat that and say, I said do not, okay? And why do I say that? Because this is a show, and we want to have our show every week. And we don't want to have people suing us or people's wives suing us because he did something that wasn't quite exactly what was said, and he blew himself up, okay? I'm going to give you an example, okay? Now, you guys know I like myself some Noveske Flaming Pigs, flash suppressors, muzzle brakes, whatever you want to call them. The same design as they have on the Russian Krinkov, short barrel, AK type firearm system. So you can tell I've been in NRA classes because I say firearm, I don't say weapon. Bad baby. No squeezing. I like to use the Noveske Flaming Pig on just about anything because I don't have suppressors. I don't use suppressors. I mean, if Carl's running videos with suppressors and stuff like that, he's licensed and authorized, and he's got all this stuff going on because he's a business. I don't have them because I don't want nobody to come bother me about, oh, you got a suppressor. We haven't looked at it in, 10 months since you got it. I don't want that. So my only alternative is flash suppressors, flash hiders, muzzle brakes type things. I like the Noveske Pig, Flaming Pig. Now there is one I'm interested in. It's made by called the Hate Brake, made by that company that makes the Hate Brake. The Noveske Pig, you can run up to about 35 caliber projectiles on a Noveske Pig. You buy a Noveske Pig, a KX3 or KX5, and you shoot 22 through it. It's got like a .360 exit funnel thing in it. Okay, they don't make them by caliber. They make it one size fits all, except for 45 ACP. You can't go to, well, you can't go to 375. And the way I do this is when I first had my KX, thought to use one, we were doing pistol carbines, like we were saying, Jeff, with the 44 Magnum, Honey Badger, performance better than 20-inch carbine. You got the 45 ACP Honey Badger. We got the 9mm Honey Badger. I wanted to run 9mm through my Ruger PCC 9mm carbine and my Henry Homesteader carbine, which is 9mm, because I like 9mm carbines, match it up to my Glock 19 or 34. Basically what I did, I took my calipers and I put it into the aperture in the Flaming Pig, and I measured the size. And the size was like almost .370, which let me know that I got a little space for a .357 Magnum or a 9mm, which is .355. Preach, Steve. Talk your numbers. Yeah, I know my numbers. And so I would drop bullets through the Flaming Pig. I got the 375 because we're wanting to do a workup with Southern Ballistic Research down in Brunswick, Georgia, on the 375 SOCOM they made. And the 9mm bullets fell through, the 357 Magnum bullets fell through, the 375 stopped halfway on the your bearing surface. So that let me know that I could use that flash hider muzzle brake on any caliber larger than 357 Magnum. So on this thing with you in the 7.62x39, when you know that you're talking .311 on the 310, 311 on the bullets versus your suppressor is based on .308, the manufacturers they put a what do you call it, what's the proper word, Jeff? You know what I'm trying to say.
Warning?
No,
Disclaimer?
no. When they give you some free gap space, they're not going to make it like .308, .5. If you're shooting a 308 bullet, they're going to make it like .312, .315. So you have some space there.
Tolerance.
Yeah, tolerance, some gimme. So to answer your question, no, don't do that. Don't say Steve said you can shoot that. But if I was doing it with my Flaming Pig, I would drop a 308 bullet. I mean, if it got in that aperture hole and you had to tap it through, no. If you drop it in there and it goes whoosh, and it doesn't even touch any of the sides, that's a personal decision. That's a decision maker. You have to do. But set up your video camera, about 20 feet away from it and video it and leave a note on the video camera saying, send the tactical rifleman in case I don't make it. Ah, man, baby. So, it's a personal decision, man. I want to say, but I can't say, so I'll leave it at that. Shout out to Brunswick, Georgia. What's going on down in the Wick? It's my peeps down there. So, Jeff, I think we have had the last question. Again, I can't exit without talking about the load. As I said previously, one supervisory special agent retired, not to be mentioned, Buford Boone, said to me, I think we were talking about the 62 grain bear claw and the FBI and the use, and I said, yeah, you can stop a car, that thing penetrated the car engine, and Buford turned to me and goes, Sarge, Buford from the South, Sarge, you know how you stop a vehicle? I go, how do you do that, supervisory special agent? He goes, shoot the driver. And every time I go out and I shoot the Black Hills Cowboy Action Load 4570, 405 grain flat point lead. Always think about Buford Boom. If you need to stop the vehicle, shoot the driver. And did I mention that they also make this, or not this, but the 4570 at Black Hills Ammunition with the Honey Badger. With the Honey Bad Baby. Huh? What's the weight grade on the Honey Badger, Jeff?
325 grains.
345?
325.
325 grain Honey Badger. At what velocity?
1,900 feet per second.
Whoo!
You should see what that does to ballistic gelatin.
I would like to.
I'll send you a picture of that. You end up with a temperate cavity diameter that's the largest part is 7 inches in diameter, and it penetrates 33 inches. There's a fellow that wrote into us. He was hunting with one of the riders, and he hit a buffalo 5 times and ran past him, and they didn't recover any bullets.
So, what do you think about that? Supervisor of Special Agent, retired. Oh, somebody shoot this thing. We can't shoot it there, John. We might hit you. Well, shoot up here amongst us. One of us got to have some relief. Oh, that's how they do it. Down in where? In Jerrytown. We want to shoot and do some workups. Miss Christie, I know. I'm not going to say anything about the 4570 Honey Badger. I know you got us. We will be, TR Nation, yes, I will be discussing with Jeff, who's going to then turn to Miss Christie and say, Tactical Rifleman Nation is looking for the TR discount. So I will broach it on your behalf. And you guys can send me, I don't know, some walnuts for Christmas or something like that. How about that? So if you guys have nothing else for Jeff, I mean, Jeff and I can talk. I mean, for a long time, we haven't seen each other in a coon age. Oh, somebody, what's the wrong with Jerry? Shoot up here amongst us. Caldell and Udell. And he hollered, oh! That meant, I'll meet you halfway. So all you young little internet junkies, y'all need to look up Jerry Clower and a coon hunting story. It's a great American story. Jeff, thank you. Thank you so much, brother. It's good to see you, good to talk to you. Good to have you with us and introduce you to the TR Nation. And believe me, the ones that didn't get the word because it was on Monday instead of tomorrow on Tuesday, they're going to get the word out, and those guys are going to come back and they're going to log on and they're going to pull this episode up, and they're going to learn all about Black Hills Ammunition and Mr. Jeff Hoffman and Miss Out of the Camera Shot Christie sitting over there. So, and a shout out to Nick for getting us all set up. Nick is Carl's son, and he's our IT guy. So he makes everything go around here. And actually, we're thinking like, maybe we should get a message out to Carl. Carl, nobody's in a hurry for you to come back. We got this. We're working on this. Jeff, like I said, you're always invited. You have an open invitation to visit with us anytime you want. I mean, you can just watch the show, or you say, hey, Steve, I want to be on the show this upcoming episode because Black Hills has just come out with we call it the Christie Subsonic 6.8 SPC. And we'll be glad to have you guys as always. Anything out there that you guys see and you say, man, the TR Nation, needs to know about this because Jeff, once you're part of the Tactical Rifleman Nation, you're in. There's no out. You know, it's kind of like the mafia. You're in, you're in. So you're always going to be welcome. Like I said, next week we're going to hopefully, after a year of waiting, present the AR-15 lever action version. They've got all the bugs worked out, and basically, the reason it's been so long is that they're fighting some patent battles, and they got some things all worked out now, and they're holding to their promise to the TR Nation that we will be the first ones to get one to show, even though the NRA show is coming up Wednesday, and it'll be in Dallas, Texas, for all you Texas folks, all you folks that have been to all our classes out there in Texas, at the Beaumont Ranch. That carbine will be at the NRA show. It's on the 15th. Our show is on the 14th, Tactical Tuesday. So we will, as promised, be the first ones to show the AR-15 lower receiver system in lever action. And one of the things that I was told, so the main thing they were working out technically was you have to have a 6-to-1 ratio, 6-to-1 extraction ratio on the bolt, the extractor, and then the ejector. And they wanted to make sure. I think they, when they thought they were at like 4-to-1. He said now they're there at a positive 6-to-1 ratio, which they say we're ready to go public, and you guys are going to have one first before the people at the NRA show see it the next day. So Jeff, you're welcome to come on the show and see it at the same time we see it, or the rest of the TR Nation sees it, and we talk about it. Or you're more than invited and welcome to watch the show anytime. And you can send me comments or questions. You don't even have to go to the chat room. I mean, you got my number, so just hit me up and say, hey, I'm watching the show and blah blah blah, or hey, I'm watching the show and we're 90% complete on Miss Christie's suppressies. Woo! Bad baby. Carl, what are your comments? What's that? Can't hear you, brother. You're like 400 miles away. No comments? Good. Nick, let's go to work down here. And we're going to continue on. Jeff, we're going to let you go. We've got 2 minutes. Any words of wisdom from Mr. Jeff Hoffman and Miss Christy Hoffman at Black Hills Ammunition?
No, thank you very much for inviting us to be here.
Now, I am so glad to get you on, Jeff, because I remember almost a year or 2 years ago when we were talking, I said, Jeff, man, I got to get you on the show. And you're like, if it ain't in Rapid City, South Dakota, it ain't going to happen. I said, Carl, when are we going to South Dakota? And Carl just kind of looked at me and went back to whatever he was doing. So then when Nick I think we started with the, what you call it, nutrition. Was the first video, was it the first video thing? Yeah. And that's when I said, you know what? People like Jeff Hoffman and Clint Smith and Buford Boone, you are no longer safe. You can't hide from the Tactical Rifleman Nation. We are seeking you. We are seeking you out, Mr. Boone. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Miss Christie.
Thank you. Look forward to doing it again sometime.
Roger that. Oh, one more thing. TR Nation, before I forget, I almost forgot. Jeff, so great talking to you and having everyone ask questions. TR Nation, this is my question of the week. This is Steve's, what would you do with blank? And you don't have to answer it tonight. But next week, episode 14 May, Tuesday, when we do the lever action AR-15 drop on, I think we're going to do this one in 300 blackout or 6.8. The question you have to answer is, what would you do with this? Okay, da-da-da, where am I at, Nick? Da-da-da. Where's the mouse? Mouse is... Now, not the one in the front, the one in the back on the trailer. Because I was asked, what do you think I'm going to do with this? I said, I have no freaking idea. So, the first episode of Steve's, what would you do with this? Bad baby. Bad baby. No squeezy. So, I want you guys to hit the chat room. I mean, to reach out and say, hey, I've got the idea, the ultimate idea. We're going to rank them. And we're going to do a giveaway. Okay? Too bad we can't do a giveaway on ammunition, because I would say, Miss Christie, we need a box of blankety blank. But YouTube and the other thing won't let us do it. They won't let us touch firearms during a live show, which I understand. You know, some nerd geek dude doing a live kind of crank one off on himself. You know, hey, that's why we go to NRA classes. Safety first, people. Safety first. So, be prepared next week to say, Steve, on the giveaway. I don't even know what we're going to give away next week. I think last time we gave away what? A tomahawk? No, the high-speed red dot sight tools that I used yesterday. Put it on my keychain. Glad I did, because I was out and I was like, I got to make an 8-inch right and a 4-inch down adjustment. And I'm trying to figure out how to do it. I said, wait a minute, I got one of those high-speed things that does any kind of red dot sight. So it comes in handy. So be prepared next week to answer Steve's, what would you do with this? And always be safe. Always trust in God. Be without fear in the face of your enemies. Be brave and upright, that God may love thee. Speak the truth always, even if it leads to your death. Safeguard the helpless. Try to do no wrong. And we're out of here. Thank you, Mr. Hoffman. Ms. Hoffman, glad to have you on the show.
Thank you.